reportedly the Buccaneers talking to the league office about designations, proper procedures. Chris, I got a feeling they're trying to find a way,
Yeah.
as I explained it last night at PFT, to not have their cake and not let anyone else eat it too.
Right.
They don't want him playing for anybody else. They're trying to engineer this, I believe, to keep him from landing on the Packers, the Chiefs, or the Rams. And I throw the Rams in there because, hell, anybody else with name recognition who's available, the Rams end up at the table. Packers, Chiefs, Rams are the three teams that I think would be considering it. And the Buccaneers, I believe, are trying to find a way to thread this needle so they don't have to keep him on the team, but they don't have to deal with him as a member of any opponent they may face between now and February 13th.
I would agree with that 100%. I mean, that was my thought or my take, again, reading the events of yesterday and everything that went on around Antonio Brown. I think you're spot on. Yeah, they don't want to give him that opportunity, one, because they're pissed at him probably personally, just to be like, what? I mean, you screwed us and left us in the middle of the football game. Okay, so yeah, they don't want to do him any favors and like, oh, now we're going to release you and let you go somewhere else and life's just fine. Oh, great, no big deal you did that to us. I understand that aspect. I'm sure they are trying to thread that needle to figure out, did he break team rules? Can they suspend him without pay? Whatever it might be, to the fact where, they can keep him some way on the roster or in the organization, but he's not really a part of the organization anymore, and he can't go be a part of any other football teams. I think 100%, Mike. That's the way I look at it, no doubt about it.
And I don't like it. I don't like it. If you're done with him, be done with him. If he's off the team, let him go be on another team. But you know what? This is part of the games that are played by personnel departments throughout the league to try to engineer the outcome that they're looking for. And, hey, there's no guarantee he's going to make it to the Chiefs, the Packers, or the Rams. If he gets released right now, he passes through waivers. There could be some team out there that makes a spite waiver claim like the Chargers did 19 years ago to keep Deion Sanders from going from the Washington reserve retired list straight to the Raiders for their Super Bowl run. Marty Schottenheimer said, no, that's not happening. We're claiming you on waivers. That could happen. There could be a team out there that just says, no, we're not letting you pick your neck. We're not. No. We're done. No, that's it. For whatever old grievance may be floating around out there toward Antonio Brown. So that's part of this, too. Even if they cut him, there's no guarantee he's going to work his way to the Chiefs, the Packers, the Rams, or anyone else.
I would still favor that outcome, though. That's still going to be what you'd bet on, what you think's going to happen. I don't really think a team's going to do what you're talking about. You're right, that option's on the table. But will they actually do that? I don't know. Again, you do that, you're going to have to deal with Antonio Brown on social media causing a stir, and your team going to have to answer questions. And now all of a sudden Antonio Brown, even though you just signed him to not let another team do it, he's a distraction, even though he's not going to be in your locker room because everybody's going to be answering about it, and he's not going to let it go down. I mean, even the way he's going out right here, he's going out in a blaze of glory. And he doesn't give a damn at all. I mean, that's going to scare any team from claiming him, at least from that's viewpoint, at least, is what I would say.
And that's the first question. Does he even want
I don't know.
to keep playing this year?
Right.
We saw him last night courtside at the Brooklyn Nets, Memphis Grizzlies. Are they the Memphis Grizzlies now? I remember when they were the Vancouver Grizzlies.
They are
when
the
they
Memphis
were first
Grizzlies.
founded in 1994.
Right.
But, so he hasn't even left the New York area. And I doubt that he wants to play for the Jets or the Giants for a meaningless Week 18 game. I think if he wants to play, it's to pursue a championship. And the Chiefs are the most obvious destination to me because Andy Reid loves to give guys second chances, or I don't know what number we're up to with Antonio
74.
Brown, but it's not second.
About 74.
And also Josh Gordon, the guy to whom they gave his latest umpteenth second chance, although he's a different story altogether, and I've got issues and problems with why he's never been able to fully blossom because the NFL cares about things they shouldn't care about, like a guy smoking marijuana on his own time. He's got 5 catches for 32 yards in 11 games this year. It's not a stretch to say it would be an upgrade from Josh Gordon to Antonio Brown. Right there. Hey, Josh, we've kept you around for 3 months. We've tried. It just hasn't worked. We got to go in a different direction. And here comes Antonio Brown. And that could be the difference. And when you look at the Chiefs, they have to be doing some soul searching after what happened in Cincinnati on Sunday. Maybe if they get an opportunity to get Antonio Brown, they jump on it.
Yeah.
And then maybe the Buccaneers regret it February 13 in L.A. if it's Buccaneers Chiefs in the Super Bowl and Antonio Brown is helping make the difference for the Chiefs like he helped make the difference last year for the Buccaneers.
Yeah.
It's that simple. And again, I don't like it, but it's not like there's anything anyone can do about it. And Antonio Brown, and look, we don't know how much blame goes around here. I think the Bucs are doing a good job as painting him as the bad guy and also not so subtly painting him as having mental health issues. I think there's more to this story. We were talking about this yesterday on PFTPM. I'd like to get some people under oath and ask him some tough questions because I feel like there's some blame to go around on how this all fell apart on Sunday, Chris.
I mean, I would think at some point we'll hear those stories. I don't know what the hell went on. I wouldn't, but I do think we named the teams that I think are the teams I would look at to go. They're in the leader house. There we go. Right for a guy like Antonio Brown. Yeah, the Bucs got to be scared of Super Bowl, Chiefs. Wait, they do need another weapon. We know that they need another weapon, and especially they got to play the Bengals in the AFC Championship game. So you saw there they need another weapon. I mean, their offense disappeared in the second half of the football game the other day. The Rams certainly could use another one. And they have two coaches that are into blending those personalities. The Packers, I don't know, who knows. The Packers, if it's 7 cents too expensive, they might not do it. So you never know with them. but it would make sense and have put the same fear in the Bucs too. Now here's the other question I want to ask you about this a little bit. Like, the story of right now of he didn't want to go back in because his ankle. Can we play the video of him leaving the field again, please?
Yeah.
Well, because this doesn't look like a guy who has an ankle problem as he's running and jogging.
I'm surprised.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you would say that because you, of all people, would know the difference between running and jogging off a field and making hard cuts out of breaks and doing everything you have to do when you're playing.
But this is Antonio Brown on strike 74. This is all
I know.
He could have said this in the social media. He didn't. This is totally his agent on damage control to try to give him another chance. Come on. We know that. Come on.
Well, okay. Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. But
there's not one lip on film. There you can watch him. He's running routes perfect. There's nothing. Bull crap, bull crap, bull crap, bull crap.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm not
Let's
mad
have
at
the conversation, though.
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah.
But the way that it has come out, and this, hey, if the NFL is going to own and operate its own media conglomerate and they're going to have people on the air saying these things, then they become relevant to the conversation.
Yeah.
And Ian Rappaport was saying yesterday that Antonio Brown's position is that his ankle was sore, and that's why he didn't go back in the game when Bruce Arians told him to go back in the game. Well, he does have an ankle injury.
I know.
People are like, I didn't know anything about an ankle. We're going to play Bruce Arians in a second. He missed practice on Thursday of last week. He missed practice on Friday of last week because of the ankle injury. He was listed as questionable. There was doubt that he was even going to travel to New Jersey. And that's usually what happens. A guy gets listed as questionable and you wait and see. Do they downgrade him to out the day before the game and not take him? There was question as to whether he was even going to go. There was question as to whether he was going to play. So it's not like it was some phantom injury
I get you.
where he's saying,
right.
my arm, it's broken.
Right.
He had an ankle injury going into the game.
Yeah.
So there is something there. But the question is, did he say when he was being told, go back into the game, hey, my ankle's sore? Here's Bruce Arians addressing that topic yesterday in his Monday press conference with reporters.
Can you fire a player if he won't go because he's injured?
I don't know that he was.
Did he say that he was, or was there a dispute about that?
No.
He just refused to go in, or can you tell us more about it?
Not really. I mean, what happened is pretty obvious what happened. So, he left the field, and that was it.
Bruce, just to clarify on AB, so you didn't tell him to leave. He left completely on his own in this thing yesterday.
We had a conversation, and he left the field, yeah.
Was there any issue or displeasure on the team's part with the way that AB handled his rehab for his ankle injury?
No, none whatsoever. He was cleared to play last week, played good, cleared to play this week.
He played better than good against the Panthers in Week 16.
Right.
Now, Bruce Arians is the first one, frankly, I'd want to put under oath because there's a point where he's going to stop answering questions from reporters. If you got him under oath, he has to keep answering the questions. And there's enough there, and this is a pasta and meatballs thing for me, Chris. I used to question people sitting across from the table. There's enough there for follow-up questions to probe, to test whether or not there are underpinnings of logic in the things that are being said. You know, at one point, Bruce Arians says, well, we all saw what happened. Well, that was after the conversation. The conversation caused what happened. I want to know what was said by everyone involved. I want to know who heard what before I can come to the conclusion that Antonio Brown did or didn't say my ankle is sore, and whether or not Bruce Arians did or didn't react to that angrily and say you're off the team. Because, frankly, I kind of like the – look, if somebody comes to me in the middle of the day and says you're fired, I'm not hanging around for the rest of the day. Now, how I walk out the door with my box of effects, you know, I would probably leave my clothes on while I did it. But if I'm in a workplace and they come to me at the middle of the day right after lunchtime and say you're fired, I'm not hanging around for the rest of the day. So I
just doubt they said you're fired. You know,
I said you're off the team. He said you're off the team. That's been reported. I don't know that he said that yesterday, but the whole idea was he said get back in the game. Antonio Brown said no. He said get back in the game. Antonio Brown said no. And at some point, Arians said, well, then you're off the team. So he took it literally and he left the team. So that's the thing. That conversation, especially when you're dealing with Antonio Brown.
Yeah, right.
It's when you're dealing with him, right? Because Bruce Arians knows people very well. He's been coaching for years. He knows how to press guys' buttons. I feel like maybe there was a little pressing of Antonio Brown's buttons because I have a feeling that Antonio Brown had gotten down to Bruce Arians' very last nerve over some of the stuff he's had to deal with. Because here's Tommy's guy. I didn't want this guy in the first place last year. And we can pull the quotes. Bruce Arians said no, Antonio Brown. He was with him for 2 years in Pittsburgh. No, Antonio Brown. No, no, no. Oh, we're signing Antonio Brown. Well, from the get-go, we knew. Come on. You don't need to be a genius, which qualifies me to engage in this analysis, that it was because of Tom Brady. And it's always been because of Tom Brady. Yeah. And maybe Bruce Arians saw an opening to just say the right thing at the right time to spark the eruption of Mount Antonio that brought this all to an end. And Tom Brady didn't even know what the hell was going on. Well, this is the best way. If you want him out of there and you know Tom's not going to let him go, the best way to make it happen is to spark an eruption that has Antonio Brown walk away for good. Then you get what you want. You don't have to deal with this guy anymore. I'm not ready to say that didn't happen at some level for Bruce Arians.
I don't. I find that. I would find that to be far-fetched. I would. I can't.
Why? Why? What about what's happened over the past few weeks would make you think it's far-fetched that there's some power play going on between Bruce Arians and Tom Brady over the fate of Antonio Brown?
The 10 receptions for 101 yards the week before, and the fact that they need passes.
Who's throwing those passes?
Okay, but I mean, Bruce Arians needs it too. He'd like to win another Super Bowl. I don't think he's like totally sitting here trying to what's the phrase I always butcher? Cut off his nose to spite his face. You know,
bite off his nose.
Yeah, bite off his nose, right? But to me, like, this is where it still smells fishy, and I'm going to support Bruce Arians. It just doesn't seem like the normal, checks and balances were done here. Yes, I know he was on the injury report last week. I do. But he's also the kind of guy in the part of his career where it's like, yeah, the guys like him get days off in practice if they've had an injury that was lingering. He certainly didn't look injured in the game against Carolina. I didn't see anything. He was injured against the Jets. We don't see any conversations between him and a trainer on the sideline looking at an ankle. There's none of that. I mean, if Antonio Brown was really going to the trainer and going, man, I can't play, I can't do this, I have a hard time thinking Bruce Arians and the Bucs are going to keep all these people quiet to just screw over Antonio Brown for this situation. Like, there's no way that's going to get out. Players were there. They would have witnessed, no, I heard Antonio Brown trying to tell them their ankle was hurt. That's not going to be able to be kept secret. Like, that's going to come out. And to me, that's where I'm still going to go with the side of the Bucs and Bruce Arians in this one, to where I don't know exactly how it went down. But
I'm not picking a side.
Yeah,
I'm not picking a side. I'm saying there's reason to ask questions that we're never going to get to ask and we're never going to get straight answers to. I'm not saying that it definitely happened that way. I'm saying, look, hey, this constant drumbeat of he needs help and he's got mental health issues is the perfect cover for all sorts of shenanigans that may have gone on to lead to the point where he's saying, oh, poor Antonio Brown, we hope he gets the help he needs. I mean, Tom Brady was on his podcast last night with Jim Gray saying over and over again, Antonio Brown's got all these issues and, we love him and we hope he gets help. I hope Tom Brady's at the front of the line helping him as much on the way out as he helped him on the way in if he claims to love this guy, because the guy needs help right now, and Tom Brady is one of the few human beings on the planet who has proven that he can get through to Antonio Brown. So you could argue Antonio Brown needs Tom Brady now more than ever, but I don't know that Tom Brady is going to press pause on his routine to make sure that his friend Antonio Brown gets the help that he needs if he truly needs help. I have so many questions about what happened on Sunday.
I get that.
And we're never going to get the answers to them, but I think that we should allow for the possibility that maybe, just maybe, and I like how Tuesdays have become our let's argue about something Bruce Arians said or did day of the week.
You're right.
But my gut is telling me there's a chance that Arians had enough of Antonio Brown. He knew he was never going to get Tom Brady to sign off on cutting Antonio Brown, and an opportunity arose in the heat of the moment to get to where he wants to be, which is Antonio Brown no longer on the team. But also, if we can finagle it that we don't have to worry about Antonio Brown playing for someone else, then Mike Evans is healthy. Cyril Grayson's been a godsend for that team. They've got other guys that they can get up to speed. Gronk is still Gronk. Arians probably thinks they don't need Antonio Brown as much as maybe Tom Brady thinks they do.
Yeah, I just, again, I think that's where I just would get into. I can't imagine Bruce Arians sabotaging or doing that. I can understand everything you're saying.
I can imagine any NFL head coach doing exactly what I just said. And I suspect that guys have acted that way and been motivated that way and done those things multiple times in the past because it goes with the territory. You are the king of that team.
I get
You
it.
want things your way. And you've got a player who's got more power than you in your quarterback, and you're going to get – it's still my team, and I'm going to get to where I want to be. And if I have to work around my quarterback to make it happen, I'm going to do it. I suspect that that's probably happened a time or two in the 102 years.
I'm sure, but never in that fashion, never. And we really don't. Bruce Arians has not really shown to be that guy. I mean, not really. So that's where I just again the evidence. This is where sorry, but character and the things you've done in the past get used against you. And I'm gonna side with Bruce Arians over the guy that I've seen mess up 100 situations in the last 5 years. I'm sorry. I got to be proven totally wrong until I go down. I'm going to believe Antonio Brown in this one. I can't. And then, leaving the field, super gremlin, no excuses, all the things on social media, still in New York right now. Like you said, none of that adds up to, I'm going to side with Antonio Brown in this one. And not to say your questions aren't just. I get it. I would love some of those questions to be asked. I'm dying to know some of these details too. But I can't totally buy into what you're saying as far as Bruce Arians doing that.
Please don't confuse me with, as the kids would say, an Antonio Brown stan. No. Yeah, I am. I'm not. On record.
I know you're just giving you're giving both sides here. I get it.
I believe this. Every player in the National Football League, every citizen of this country, every citizen of the world has basic rights. And I'm always on the lookout for situations where maybe the frailties and the flaws and the mental health issues of people are used against them to provide cover for intentional plans, strategies, something that maybe even borders on Machiavellian. I'm always on the lookout for that. And I'm not saying it's happening here. I'm saying I wish I had subpoena power. I wish I could sit down with these folks and ask question after question after question and fully investigate this. And it's never going to be fully investigated. It's never going to happen because Antonio Brown is his own worst enemy. Because he's had. See, that's the problem. When you are someone who has messed up time and time and time and time again,
right.
you necessarily end up with less rights than you should have because there's no one to stand up for you then.
Right.
You've alienated everyone. You've pissed off everyone. Sorry, London. You have but that's what's unfortunate because he still has the same rights that everyone else has. And it's unfortunate if they're going to mess with this guy, ultimately because they don't want him to be wearing a red helmet and catching passes from Patrick Mahomes at SoFi Stadium when it's Buccaneers versus Chiefs in Super Bowl 56. That's ultimately why they're doing it now,
well,
I think. If there is anything like that going on.
Yeah, well, it's just funny, and it's 2 weeks before we're going, will they bring, 2 weeks ago, we're going, are they going to bring them back after the fake vaccination card and all that to where, again, I'm sure they want to stick it to him to a degree. They put themselves out on they put themselves out on the ledge and gave him, strike 74 here. And let him come back after the vaccination debacle and the fake card and all that. So that's probably where they feel even extra burned. Like, man, we took a lot of heat and crap from you, from the NFL and the sports media all over the country, and we're giving you another chance here. And I can understand, I don't know what the hell happened, but I can understand that disagreement or whatever going on the sidelines where, okay, that goes down, and after the game, the Bucs are going, wait, we're not going to let this guy now just work his way into the situation he wants to. We just stuck our neck out there to kind of give him another chance and an opportunity here, and he burned us, and that's where they're going to have a hard time. But
they did it for themselves.
They did it for themselves.
They did it for themselves.
I know. That's
yes.
where you also got to get back to that, too.
These are not humanitarians. These are people who are trying to win Super Bowls. They did it for themselves, and they did get burned. And their attitude should be, if someone else wants to get burned by this guy, go ahead. But see, he doesn't have to hold it together for very long if he goes to another team. That's the reality. It's just it's a 3-4 week proposition, and maybe he can, just to spite the Buccaneers, hold it together long enough to help the Chiefs get to the top of the mountain. So that's part of what's going on. And now, if the system ends up keeping him from joining another team this year, and he's sufficiently upset, and he's in a position where he can find someone who he can tell the story to in a very persuasive and convincing way, I'd love to know everything he knows about the fake vaccine card subculture in the NFL, because I got a feeling he knows
all the guys
maybe
that did that,
maybe guys
right?
on other teams.
Right. I would think
maybe
that's
other
how it
guys
gets
on the
around.
Buccaneers who
Right.
didn't get caught. I got a feeling he knows some things. So the NFL better tread lightly here, because there may be an interview somewhere of someone talking to Antonio Brown and getting to the bottom of some stuff that the NFL has deliberately chosen not to get to the bottom of.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.